Hey guys, back here, continuing with framing. We're gonna go from framing and sheeting right into window installation. You just watched me sheet this. I didn't want to take you through every detail of that, so I've sheeted this with some OSB. So we've got our walls sheeted. They're sturdy-ish. I mean, it's just something to show you how this works. I'm gonna try to speak a little clearer so that you guys can hear me better, but I'm gonna take you through first doing the Tyvek. I've got the sheeting on. I put it on with screws. Typically that would go on with nails or staples, but for this demonstration I just did with screws. So I'm going to staple some Tyvek on here. I've cut this down for the right height to make it just a little bit easier. Yeah, so we'll start with that. Bang some Tyvek on here. Don't get cheap with the staples, guys. Okay. Come around. I like to set my height on top first. Then I like to come down. Pull it nice and tight. Cut this off. You'll notice I went right over the window. That's always how I like to do it. I've seen guys do it different ways. It's up to you. I just find it does a neater job this way. I'm going to cut my window open so I can feel my corners here. I like to do the X. Find your corners, come up at a 45. Don't cut it all the way through. Just let it sit for a bit until you get them all cut. And I usually do cut across like this, and you finish them off. That's so you can nicely wrap these inside the window frame. So there we go. I'm going to go on the inside and staple these back. I'll pull them back. Nice and tight. Couple staples. So you'll notice I didn't pull the top one back. Because we're going to be doing the window install here, I thought it'd be good for you guys to see how we like to do the Tyvek here. Pull you in. So what I've been noticing others have been doing, and I really like it, is they use kind of a flashing effect on their Tyvek, which is really neat. So what I've seen them do is they'll cut this maybe a couple inches further up vertically on a slight angle, and then we'll pull that back temporarily so we can get our window installed. Okay, so we're going to go install our window next. The window is approximately an inch narrower and an inch shorter than this opening. So what I've done is I've cut some blocks here. They're 7/16, almost half an inch. I like to lay those in the corner here. Then what we do next is we grab our window, have a level handy. Usually you do this with two guys, but I'm all alone, so here we go. There's our North Star single slider window. Got my cordless drill and some screws. So what we'll do is we'll place this window in the opening. And when you're doing it by yourself, it's really crucial that you make sure you get this thing centered in the opening here, okay? So what I like to do is I pull it all the way to one side, put a mark, all the way to the other side, make a mark, and then split that difference so you know that you're relatively centered, okay? So next thing we do is we're going to want to get our level on here. Check that out. This is out of level. So this end's got to come up. So what I can do is I can put a screw in this side. That way we can lift this side up a little bit. The framing's out because it's on my garage floor, which is, yeah, it's got lots of paint on it, quite crooked. So I start by putting one screw in there. Check, make sure I'm on my wedges. Not as likely to fall out. Now we lift this side up, get it in position. Typically you'd have a guy on the inside lifting this for you. Okay, I'm gonna get my screw ready on my drill. Hold that up. There you go. Got your screw in place. Check it for level again. Looks good. Now typically you would check the operation of the window now. Make sure it's sliding back and forth properly. If the window gets quite wide, you might have to put an extra brace in the middle here. So then we'll screw this all off. You can use roofing nails as well. I like to use screws because you can adjust how tight they go in a little bit easier. Back them out if you have to. You don't need to put a screw in every hole. I feel every other one is fine, but if it helps you sleep better at night, by all means go ahead and do that. I'm not going to put all of the screws in this window, simply for demonstration purposes, but mostly to make it easier to take it apart later. So all our screws in there. So next I'll bring you back to show you the flashing. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna finish off this window installation. What you'll want to do is, before you do any taping on these windows, make sure you wipe them down. There can be debris and dust and all sorts of stuff on them. It's a good idea to just wipe them down. So I like to start with my taping from the bottom up. I feel it works the best. I also like to leave a little gap in the middle here, untaped, so that any moisture that gets in the window can get back out onto the sheeting. Otherwise you may trap it in there. So. Bottom pieces here, get a nice overlap onto the flange. We'll seal it up nice, leave a little gap in there. Next we're going to do our vertical surfaces. So I go up onto the sheeting here, down. Make sure that's nice and clean. Get a little overlap, doesn't hurt, okay? So this side, all the way up onto it. Just like shingles, you want it to shed the water down. I know it sticks, I know it should be waterproof, but there's no point in doing it to leave a chance for leaks, right? So what I like to do, I showed this before in our afternoon thing, I like to put a little bit of extra tape on these corners just to make sure they're sealed. A little diagonal piece like this, okay? Also, it doesn't hurt to put a small piece of tape like that on these top joints here, okay? So next we're going to pull this flap down. So this is basically like a drip flashing now. Okay? So we pull that down. What I like to do, put that about a ½ inch above the window, okay? So that you've got enough space for your tape to stick onto something there. Okay, so now the water that comes down here on top of the window runs down the side, sheds out, sheds off this way, whatever has to happen, okay? So, next thing we do, find the end of our tuck tape, which is always fun. Put a little piece in the middle just to hold it down, and we can do one solid piece all the way across. It doesn't hurt if you get it down onto this flat surface here, okay? So then run your tape across here, along the top of the window. Got a little fold in there, not the best, but it still seals. Okay, come across a little further than you need to, and we put a little piece on the top here. Yeah, I know you shouldn't use your teeth, I get it, but that's what I like to do. So now that we've got all the tape on here, all our taping is done. Some guys like to do another row across the top here. That's great too. I love these J-hook rollers, okay? It's so easy to make sure that everything is pressed down flat, and you're less likely to hurt your hands on an errant screw or a sharp edge or something, okay? So just use that to compress that, make sure it's nice and stuck on there. Okay, and that window is complete. That is installed. I like to take the screens out before you do the installation, put them someplace safe on site, in the basement, crawl space, somewhere away from all the activities. And at the end of the job, we put those screens back in for the client. It just protects them from getting damaged. So I just wanted to finish the video off by showing you the inside of the window, how this looks. I've got these blocks here. this gives you a better idea of why these blocks were here. They're basically just to lift the window off the framing. It's good to check this again with your torpedo level after you've got the window installed. So we've got our single slider here, functions nice. It's snug, it should be snug, it shouldn't be too sloppy. So we've got our space around here now, our 1/2 inch space. That's good for any sagging that might happen in the framing, but also gives us a nice spot for the insulator to spray foam. If we're just doing the windows, we would spray foam those ourselves, but you can leave that for the insulator to do too. That's completely up to each job site. Now, the one thing this window is missing is a wood jamb return. Usually there's a channel that runs around the outside of these windows. That's where your 3/4 inch jamb material can fit in, so when you're trimming that window off, it has a nice transition from the wood trim to the vinyl window. Those jamb molds, they're really nice as well for any movement that happens in the home. Homes move, they grow and shrink as the seasons change. So it gives a good spot for the window to grow and shrink along that jamb, along that trim, where you'll never see it, and it won't affect anything. You won't get any gaps in the trim or anything. So that's the installation of a window. This is a North Star single slider window. Obviously you've got single slide. There are double slide where both pieces come back. There's tilt-ins. This one is easy to remove. These little finger pulls here allow you to do that. So there you go. There's other ones that are tilt-in where they just swing in this way. These are typical for a basement window, although this is not good for fire egress, like for if there was a fire, if someone had to get out. So typically in that situation, you would have a double slider where you could take both of the pieces of glass out to get in and out. There's also casement. Casement windows are the crank out ones. They have the handle down here and a lock on the side. There's also awning. Awning windows are typically are tipped so that the bottom tips out and the bottom stays fixed in the position. You've also got double hung and single hung. A single hung window is basically this window on its side, so just the bottom piece moves up and down. A double hung has both operators, so if this window was in this position, the top and the bottom window would also slide. There's more options out there, but those are the basics for windows. If you guys have any questions, again, please let me know. You can call me, text me, whatever you'd like to do. I'm sure other people have different ways of doing this. This is how I like to see it, especially the flashing on the outside. I've really noticed that with Tyvek lately. I think it's a great idea. When you're working with ISO board, though, you really don't have a choice there. You just tape the top to the ISO board. So we'll have some more videos coming out shortly. We're probably going to start talking about more framing, interior framing, also maybe some we might be getting into some roofing stuff. I think the very next video is probably going to be a roof built over top of this. I'm going to show you a ceiling joist, a rafter, some of the sheeting, fascia, a bird's mouth, and then we're going to move on to different metal flashings for roofing. We don't do a lot of roofing, but it is good for you all to understand the difference between drip edge and gable edge trims and all those different sorts of things, ice and water shield. So that's where we're heading next. Thanks.